them as well. What a move from the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Your Monday night starts right here on RaceSpotTV on Don Shula Drive here in Miami, Florida. It's the home of the Miami Dolphins at Hard Rock Stadium. Welcome to one of the new modern circuits out there in the world of Americana. This Miami International Autodrome is one that brings the fire in the 305, and for the final enduro of the season, it's going to put itself to a level where we say championships could find themselves a little hot and sticky today. My name's Jake Sperry. Jeremy Scott is along with me for today's action. And Jeremy, my goodness, Miami is one of those tracks that everyone winces at when they see it on the calendar. But I think you give it 2 or 3 more years and everyone go, yeah, we'll take a race at Miami.
Yeah, that's going to be 2 or 3 years after F1 leaves, unfortunately, and that'll bring in all the North American series. I mean, look, you've got so many different series that race here in real life, but this is an absolute fantastic banger of a race, and I can't wait.
They know they sit with one technical and one feature at the end of the season at Detroit Belle Isle and at Watkins Glen. It has been circuits from the Americas then have worked through this season, and this championship season has been interesting and pro. With no James Boumet last time out, Lucas Prada has walked that gap on down to just 34 championship points, with Nikolai Pulison in 3rd place. Anders Mira is 4th ahead of Jack Sedgwick and Aiden Young, as Leander Gabrielson and Alexander Davidson are 7th and 8th. Arthur Thurtle finds himself in 9th, with Dennis Grabowski for Altitude Frame Esports rounding out your top 10. Aiden Carter is the only driver over 100 points clear in any respective championship. He's ahead of the reigning Pro-Am champion William Guthrie, with Tommy Vidal in 3rd place. It's then the 2 Benz, Cullen and Altria, 4th and 5th, with Michael Gray, Ivan Turnison, Josh Boot, Taylor Lane, and then Phil Samways to round out your top 10. In AM, Janos Schultain was able to pull more of a gap over Simon Andre Livingston, with Tristan Engelstad missing last time out to race here, believe it or not, as Jocko Vonderlit is fourth and Benjamin Gregory is fifth. You then got Jacques Eva and Eric Hartmann, with Jesse Payne-Wilkins, Colin Sansom and Dean Timms for Misfit Racing making up the top 10. In your World GT Championship Team Pros, Adidas Racing by WSR have a slender 36-point lead over RAA SimSport 1, with Falcon Sim Racing Team just a handful of points behind that, with Altitude Frame Esports Pure Sims 4th and the two WSR teams, Esports and Veterans, 5th and 6th. Altitude Frame Esports and then Altitude Frame Esports Mr. Hedge are 7th and 8th, with Fenari Racing and Atomic Esports making up your top 10. In Team AM, though, the Fry Guys Motorsport team are ahead now of RAA SimSport 2, with the two Full Tilts V Motorsport ahead of regular Motorsport. They're 3rd and 4th, as Epic Sim Racing and Quad Dash Racing are 5th and 6th. It leads to Empire Motorsport, Rao Racing XP91 Academy and Boosted Motorsport to make up how the team and standings look. Qualifying has got itself all sorted, and for the first time this season, Axel Slijepcevic is on pole position for Altitude Frame Esports in the Porsche. Anders Mira will be alongside on that front row, with Leander Gabrielsen and Aidan Young at 3rd and 4th. James Boumet is 5th, with the leading Pro-Am being Alex Rogers for the 3rd consecutive race. Lucas Prada starts 7th, directly behind James Boumet, Ivan Turnison 8th, and Nikolai Perlison only 9th. Jack Sedgwick rounds your top 10. Then it's the Pro-Am Championship leader, Aidan Carter. He's got Tommy Vidal for company there in 12th. Tristan Engelstad is the best qualifier in AM. He goes from 13th, with Arthur Thurtle 14th. William Guthrie will have Janos Schultain for company, the AM Championship leader, as Adam State and Fraser Smith are on row 9 of this one. Jocko Vonderlit will be in for Epic Sim Racing in 19th, as Adam Watson rounds the 20, as John Lloyd and Simon Andre Livingston are 21st and 22nd. Row 12 will house Benjamin Gregory for Boosted Motorsports and the quartermass car of Ben Bennyworth in the number 24. That leaves 3 drivers, one who set a time in Colin Sanson, and those who could not, Jacques Eva ultimately labelled with penalty, so he couldn't take to qualifying, and Howard Hassan in the number 93 for Rao Racing XP91 Academy. When we get to Miami, we're in the Panhandle, and we are right at the end of the handle of the Panhandle of Florida here, Jeremy, and critically, track temperature 49 degrees. It's Miami hot.
Well, I would say the Panhandle's up more near the north. This is kind of the peninsula of Miami. The further south you go, yeah, it's absolutely hot. I've done a race in Miami when it's been this hot, and it's like standing on the surface of the sun. You're broiling hot. These tires are going to be begging for mercy by the end of their stint.
They absolutely are, and they've got an hour and 45 minutes to run, so they also have to keep in mind that there have been fuel restrictions lifted a little bit more from from two rounds ago, 3 weeks ago, to where we are now. It was first introduced last time out at Mosport, which created a fuel save game towards the end of the season. Instead of having a 50% fuel tank, they're on a 70% fuel tank now, so that is going to extend the margins out there, and I think this is going to be an easy 2-stop with a lot of leeway at this Enduro, so you could pit anywhere from, I'd argue, 10 minutes, Jeremy, and you're still in with a strategy to go and get something from this race.
I wouldn't be surprised if drivers at the back decide to do that reverse, kind of that reverse strategy and have that shorter stint early on. So we'll see how that plays out as the formation lap, as you said, is underway. Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see who does what, because you've got some pretty decently quick drivers at the back as well. Howard Hassan has not left pit road, so he will definitely start from the pits. Yeah, like I said, Sansom, Eva, because they were kind of excluded from qualifying, would not be surprised to see them try that reverse strategy.
Absolutely. James Boumet, 5 wins this year. We saw a little bit from on board. This is the view as they run by the tennis courts on the right-hand side, home to the Miami Open, which is run in March. It's a Masters 1000 event out there, and the latest winners of that well, only two of the best in the world, Yannick Sinner and Arina Sabalenka, who have got the results then in that regard overwards. But you start thinking about that championship, closest one of the lot. It is really a three-horse race. Boumet, Prada, Purlison. You've got the likes of Mira and Cedric, who are outside shots at this point at 90 and 107 points back. But Purlison with 3 wins, Boumet with 5, Prada just the 1. But where it's been a little bit more glass cannony from the Falcon drivers, it's been consistency that's kept Prada in the championship hunt.
That's key right there. We know how consistent Prada has been all season long, but I always like to say Miami is the wild card. You know, whatever you think you knew, throw it out, because that's basically a street course at this point. And of course, well, this is one of my favorite sections of racetrack, because you really get to see the might and test of these cars bouncing their way through this little section, then the long back straightaway. We'll see who decides to take a dive bomb heading into the third to last corner before you head onto that short pit straight. Gives you a nice flowing sector 1. But I don't know about you, Jake. I'm extremely excited to get this Enduro underway, and we'll see how these drivers fare in the hot Florida sun.
Well, this one is going to be about how do you cool yourself off after a tough hour and 45 minutes that they will be battling with. There's already an intense need to get heat into the tyres, at least surface heat, before they can have the chance to cool it off. And 3 categories all have to try and prove that they are on top of each other at this stage. And the likes of Anders Mira, who is best of those challenging right now, going from second. He needs a great launch. Slijepcevic is going to be stage hunting out there today. Gabrielsen thinking about the team's championship as well. In third, pace car is going to pull off into pit lane. It's a very fast exit right onto pit lane with a little chicane in the middle just to make life slightly more difficult. But Slijepcevic then gets the jump and launch that's needed, and this is going to set it up. Green flag in the air, and we're underway. Fraser Smith is going to get a black flag for a jump start then, as they go 3, almost 4 wide into turn 1 then, as Gabrielsen gets it on his teammate. Mira gets nibbled behind by Aidan Young, who sneaks on through on James Boumet. Purlison goes nowhere off of the get-go, and ultimately now set yourself up for what will be the run to 4 and 5 and 6, and hope that you've got yourself steady hands, steady feet, steady everything on the run for turn 11, the big prime overtaking opportunity today.
Going to be a very interesting start, to say the least. And now we're still dancing, trying to find some sort of position, as you see Aiden Carter going around Tristan Engelstad to try and get up to Alex Rogers, who is your Pro-Am leader so far. But now we're 45 race. Plenty of time to try and make those passes happen. Down the back straightaway they come. No, not the back straightaway, but one of the straightaways. In spite of it being all sorts of curves, you're on board with Tennyson as he closes in on Engelstad. They'll have to hit that hard braking zone here shortly, and there it is. They'll go through the stadium section and still single file. That's the way to go. If you go side by side here, Jake, you're in for a bad time.
You absolutely are. If you're out there right now like Guthrie State, Tommy Vidal and Arthur Thurtle side by side, for example, it's a lot more difficult because you have to be aggressive and tack yourself over the curves under the Florida Turnpike here as you work back onto Northwest 203rd Street and drive yourself over to Carl F. Barger Street that comes along, or Carl F. Barger Boulevard, which is the confluence that goes with it, named after the accountant who founded the Miami Marlins, of all places. Gabrielsen currently in third. There's a look behind, though, from James Boumet, who chucks it up the inside of the Corvette there of Aidan Young, and now they're going to have to scrap it all the way to turn 1. It's not that much of a run to turn 1, but it's enough that you could throw another little move there if you're not too careful. So here's Boumet on the outside, Alex Rogers in a lovely seat here to watch this, but Young covers off the move and Rogers sits underneath the Mercedes wing.
Yeah, nice little defense there, as you're still seeing Engelstad having to try and get around Aiden Carter himself, and you got this battle up near the front with Gabrielsen closing in on Slijepcevic down through the turn 7-8 complex, and it's going to be interesting to see if these two cars can still stay where they're at, because look, Anders Mira is in one of the highest positions he's been in all season. We've known the difficulty of the number 20, and I've got to say this, it's got to feel good to at least be fighting for bottom step of the podium, as problems with James Boomey. He's falling down the order. Oh, he's flashing.
He's blinking, and that's going to be concerning as he looks to set up his race. He's got to try and avoid those troubles out there as much as possible, because he's had to fight as well so hard right now with Aiden Young and Rogers and Prada and Perlison that's there. Top three have got a gap here of 1.1 seconds here, so Anders Mira knows he can run away with Gabrielson and Slijepcevic, and that is going to give him some big help in terms of points gain. Brush of the wall on the right-hand side then from James Boumé. He's going to have to be alert to what he needs out there over the course of this, and this is going to be a long old day at the office as they set themselves up. The move towards turn 17 is going to be clear, but Rogers leading Pro-Am at the moment. Aiden Carter is his nearest challenger in that at this stage, and he's only 3 back in the train. There he is fighting Nikolai Perlison.
So both of the Falcon team drivers near the back of the top 10, but still it's going to be a long race, so no need to push so far, but Carter's going to try and peek to the inside of Poulsen, not going to make it happen. Engelstad not too far away. As you work your way through 1 and 2, look at the bumps that these cars are jumping over the curbs. You know, something you can't really do in a Formula car, but you can do here, and it looks like up ahead, Boumé trying to close in on Aiden Young, or is that Rogers on Boumé as they work their way through the 4-5-6 complex, and indeed Boumé trying to hold off Alex Rogers in that Ferrari.
Yeah, Rogers is sitting there in the Maradnas Ferrari just waiting for an opportunity to uncork this, and you get onto this back stretch. The Ferrari, for what it is, I think it's a great all-around vehicle. I don't think it does any one thing amazingly at the moment, and it's slightly fallen off of the ideas of what people want in balance of performance, as here's a move for the race lead going on as well, as Gabrielson looked to the inside of Slijepcevic, didn't quite get there. No move offered by Alex Rogers either that we were focusing on, and through this section here of turn 12. Doesn't turn 12 remind you very much like the Sachs curve at the Hockenheimring?
Yeah, that's, oh, look at how close that is, as Gabrielson almost ends up in Slijepcevic's back end, but yeah, it really does. I mean, with as tight as it is, so yeah, that's it. Here's the thing, you've got a couple of tracks here that have different kind of viewpoints, as Gabrielson closes in on Slijepcevic, not going to make that pass, because look at Slijepcevic taking the defensive line, but Gabrielson going to juke to the inside. Oh, that was beautiful. Coming around turn number 17, and that puts the Lamborghini up to the top.
It was a case there for Slijepcevic. He committed that he wasn't going to make it, thought it wasn't going to come along, but the late braking prowess of the Norwegian pretty much set itself in stone. Now Slijepcevic is going to try and chuck it back at turn 1. The door is shut and no way of going through. Suddenly, it's an altitude frame sandwich on RAA SimSport 1 bread right now as far as it goes. Gabrielson leading, Slijepcevic second, and third is there, going to be there. Adam Watson now dropping down the order, and that's going to be him in a world of trouble, I think, at turn 1. He has gone miles off. I wonder if he's been tagged by Adam State under brakes. The answer is yes. So we take a look. Watson comes off the curb into State, and ultimately I think Adam Watson there lost the rear end, and just where Adam State was, he couldn't gather it back up again.
You know, take a look at this lead pack here. It almost reads like a bad joke. An Italian, a German, and a Bavarian all walk into a bar in Miami. We're not going to finish it because they are still tooth and nail coming off of turn number 11, now setting up for turn number 12. I'm honestly impressed with how good this Lamborghini is handling this section. While he's got to hold off Slijepcevic and Mira, he's doing his best to try and keep that gap the same, because that's easier said than done, especially with that uphill 14-15, which in my opinion, I think is probably one of the best features here of this race circuit. And of course, you got a great run in through the 11, 12, 13 complex.
You absolutely do, and it sets you up for a very important drive off the exit and onto this long straight, so it prioritizes accuracy and knowing where to position the car over some very tricky sight lines through that section as Slijepcevic holds his ground at 17, doesn't quite give everything that he needs to at the moment, but there's still a very long way to go as far as this race is. I'm really impressed by Tristan Engelstad off the start. +3 will be very happy with that as far as it goes. His biggest rival to chase up with is Janos Scholtane, and that gap in the championship as they walked into it here today, 117 points, but Scholtane having himself down in 18th, down 2 on the start, and he puts himself right now 3rd in class behind Jocko von der Litt, who's having a career day at the moment so far for the opening 10 minutes.
It's one of those races where Engelstad has those moments of brilliance, and that is, it just continues to be one of them. So we'll see exactly how this plays out. Even Jocko van der Litt, yeah, 2nd in class, 17th overall, and a couple seconds away from Adam State. So there's that going for him, which is nice. Here comes Alex Rogers once again, all over the back of Boume, who's also all over the back of Aiden Young. And I'll tell you what, once Boume gets ahead of Young, which is going to be easier said than done, as he's going to try and do so here coming into turn number 11. As you're on board with the Morena Squad Ferrari, they're side by side, and there goes Boume, takes his way through, and Rogers is going to try and get around the outside of Young as well, but that's easier said than done as they work their way through the tight complex, and John Lloyd gets a meatball flag.
Ooh, that's no good for John, and that has come about through various elements of damage that Fry guy's Aston Martin has not been happy with. I think it's just a tag on the wall as he's worked through turn 8. He's caught the Tech Pro barriers, and it's damaged the suspension out there. So John Lloyd in trouble. Boume with a must-make pass has now made it, and he was critically needing that. So here's a look. This was another part of John Lloyd. Oh! Adam Watson, I think he was tangling with there, who had already had an off at the start of the lap, and so that certainly didn't help things in terms of how that went, but that was secondarily a lot more, and limping around Colin Sansom then back into pits, and he is now out of the race, and there goes Alex Rogers, turned around. Aiden Carter now leads in Pro-Am.
That's a section you really got to be careful. At least there's plenty of runoff, and at least he didn't do Max Verstappen and spin in front of the group there. But let's see what happens here. And it looks like just Prada. A little bit of over exuberance right there.
And we talk championship because if Lucas Prada is starting to pick up incident points out there, and let's talk more than just incident points, license points, where is the one place out there between now and the end of the season I don't want an exclusion from qualifying from? It's Detroit Belle Isle for me.
I agree, because you can make up spots pretty easily at Watkins Glen. Belle Isle, yeah, you've got one big straightaway there off of turn number 2, but that's about it. It's tough. It is such a tough race course to pass, so make sure you don't get that exclusion before that round. I mean, you can get it at Watkins Glen, just not at Detroit.
Yeah, and at Watkins Glen, you're just trying to attack with everything you've got. Boume attacking with everything he's got, as he knows that this second half of the season, he's sort of seen drivers behind him in the championship just sort of boil up to the top and then fade away a little bit. It's very much staring at the hot pot at the moment, the way James Boume's been masterful at the front, because at one point it was Purlison, and then he's dropped away a tiny bit. Then it was Anders Mira, he dropped away. Now it's Lucas Prada, and you're really getting the sense of what is set up here as they go. This is Prada's teammate Adam State, now looking to try and jump up the order against then Alex Rogers. Rogers on the inside. John Lloyd will also get a black flag for an unsafe pit entry potentially out there, or failing to serve a slowdown. So it looks like a nightmare right now for John Lloyd to go and deal with. But here comes the chance to attack back here from Alex Rogers after the tap around with Lucas Prada. Chucks it up the inside, says thank you very much. Can he get it slowed up for 2 and 3? They're very quick sweepers that follow on afterwards. Yes, he can.
So far, so good, as now the climb up to the top continues, as that's been really hurt him. But either way, it's still better safe than sorry around the we're on the Estes. So many great parts of this race circuit, and it's not that much of an elevation change all around. Of course, I'm not going to lie, Jake, I kind of miss the boats there. You see them now in the game, but they weren't really there because MSC came in with part of a cruise ship. And I think it kind of took away from the allure and the I would say, the kitschiness of that corner.
Yeah, it feels like just a corner sometimes, and I quite like it. Benjamin Gregory, he's up 4. It's getting busy with Nikolai Pulison right now. And this is such an interesting battle group that started to form in and around 7th place, if we can go to it, because you've got Pulison, who's pro, leader of Pro-Am Aiden Carter. Then you got the leader of AM, Tristan Engelstad, Jack Sedgwick, Turnison, Guthrie, Thurtle, Vidal. This is a train right now, and they're stuck behind the Dane, who knows all about flat in a country like Denmark, because they don't have a hill in Denmark higher than 1.5 kilometers in terms of how you try and climb over it. That's why they can't have a cycling grand tour over there, as Carter lobs one to the inside and gets in the door as he pushes his way by.
Absolutely fantastic as Aiden Carter. I'll tell you what, over the past couple of seasons looked really, really good. And of course, Pulison knocking on the door. Carter with a nice defensive move going into turn 1. They're side by side, and Pulison shuts off Engelstad, and Engelstad takes a dive to the inside. He's not going to get anything done, but it's going to give Lucas Prada a chance to fall into line, fall back a little bit as well. But Pulison, look at how tight he is on the back of Carter and Engelstad. This is such a great battle. Look who's back there as well, Jack Sedgwick. You can never count him out in that number 11, but now they're back to single file formation.
Yeah, Tristan Engelstad is the only driver in this field with a spotter. He's got Scorpio Esports' Ryan Stringer in there looking to help him out. Pulison then getting a little bit of the wall as he exits 8, and that's going to be really tough for him as he now knows that Aiden Carter's trying to run away, and this might be the difference between how much am I fuel saving and how much am I not. It's a case here for Engelstad. Can he get the BMW there? There's damage now on the front for Pulison. The front right wheel is exposed. Front left on your screen, so Engelstad can go around the outside. Chucks him one with a bit of contact. They'll get more again as they go through 12. They lean on each other. Pulison's into the wall. Sedgwick dives around the outside. He gets there, but he grabs a bit of wall as well. It's getting chipper.
Too early to be chipper, boys. We're just 15 minutes into this race, and gotta get. I mean, yes, you do have to get up front, but at the same time, it's a matter of trying to make sure you last, because these walls are very unforgiving here. As you're looking out of the front of Tennyson as Pulison. This is a rare spot to see him in the bottom half of the top 10, but Sedgwick, he's trying to capitalize on this as Tennyson closes it. Oh, I thought we were going to see a little bit of nose-to-tail contact as they were closing in nice and tight over 17.
It's a fine line between contact or not, and you will note that a lot over the course of running, especially if you're in a big group, how much contact is going to make a difference. Out there at a race circuit like this, we're in the middle of the midday heat as well, so this track is going to be hot and bothersome under the collar. And I note at the front, Leander Gabrielsen has almost pulled his second as Turnison stays in line and holds himself steady at this point here, doing really well in the RAA SimSport Lamborghini, which has seemingly come alive here at this moment. Sedgwick now taking his turn to attack, and Engelstad will think about this and go, am I going to be able to catch Aiden Carter? If the answer's no, Jack Sedgwick is a very well respected and experienced sim racer. He'll know a way to get by or two.
And of course, you know, he's aggressive, but he's aggressively smart. He's not going to make a move that would put one or two cars out of contention as he looks to the inside, approaching turn number 17, but thinks better of it. Way back there, you got the Porsche Thurtle going for a dive. He gets around Guthrie, but Guthrie's going to take that spot back, move both of those drivers back to 12th and 13th respectively.
Yeah, they started thinking about it, and there was a look around, but if you can't get the move fully closed off at turn 11, 12 is the perfect fight back corner, and it's what makes that complex of 11 to 16 such a difficult one to get correct, because if you've got any side-by-side as you work through it, Jeremy, you know, you're going to cost yourself well over a second just by tangling about, because the last thing you want is side by side on the jump over the chicane.
Yeah, you can only go single file through there, and you and I have covered some sports car races here at Miami and know that even just getting a wheel wrong when you're side by side through that jump, it just ends in heartbreak. So a lot of these drivers need to really think about that as you're on board with Thurtle, tries to look to the inside of Guthrie, but he's not going to make a move happen. Of course, it doesn't help that you've got fast Tommy Vidal right behind him. Granted, it's a Pro-Am, Pro, and Pro-Am right there for 12th, 13th, and 14th, but last person I'd want in my rear view camera is Fast Tommy.
No, I wouldn't want him in my rear view mirror because I know he's very good at finding a way at making position. So I would be a little bit concerned about how that would set out as you look to try and just keep your ground, hold yourself steady, know that it's a long day at the office for many and everyone here as they try and figure out what is going to be the formula. Where am I going to find my way as far as this goes? Slijepcevic under pressure now into the next left-hander because Mira's starting to throw a little bit out there, try and find himself an opportunity. Lloyd then getting out of the way in the background for James Boumet, but Anders Mira here needs to find this pass and needs to get up to second to make it a 1-2, not just for the team, but his individual ambitions, because James Boumet is sat at 1.5 seconds, and Boumet, I think, has a slowdown penalty, and that'll be Aiden Young who will go by, and that will be more than just that, because there goes Lucas Prada back through into position, and that is critical for the championship.
That's not something that you want this late in the game. Now, granted, remember, Boumet took one of his drop weeks at last time out, so he's really got to be on it here these next couple of rounds. But this is a very, very interesting set of circumstances, and so is that as well, as Thurtle gets well side by side for position right there with William Guthrie and Fast Tommy sitting back there as well. This battle between these drivers really, it seems like all season long, Jake, they have found each other in one way, shape, or form. Colin Sansom with a black flag, not good for him, and they're still side by side through turn one.
For Sanson, that's speeding off pit X. He's 3 laps down, and the clearance there by William Guthrie now brings Tommy Vidal side by side, but it's such a fast corner, turn 4. You either want to be on the inside demanding it or the outside sweeping round it, and they do a little bit of neither, so the inside of 5 is there for Tommy Vidal, but he's overcooked it here for 6 and 7, and so to the inside, he's got to fight back here. That big, bulky Mustang up against that nimbler Porsche that works itself through. Tommy Vidal will take the place, and critically we'll be looking at how this will go on the straight, because now Alex Rogers is going to try and get himself into play. Side by side they go through 10 over towards turn 11, 3 wide. No, he's going to have to go back to 2 and push your way through at this point in time. On the brakes at 11, chucking it in late still is Tommy Vidal. He doesn't know what the word quit means, but Rogers very much is going to sneak up his inside, try and get in onto play, but he can't quite find the lane.
Well, think about this. A couple laps ago, Rogers was facing traffic off in turn 1, and now he's fighting Fast Tommy for position. Hello, goodbye, see you later to the inside. That was a fantastic move by Rogers to see Fast Tommy make a little bit of a stumble there, coming off the bottom of the jump and now making his way through the back straightaway. Aiden Carter with a peek to the inside of Jack Sedgwick. We know that's easier said than done, but Tristan Engelstad holding his own, sitting in 7th place, leading the AM class. Yeah. As they work their way through the final couple of corners, we'll see if Sedgwick has anything for Engelstad. A lunge could be all that he needs to get into another spot and put the AM driver one position back.
Oh, Benjamin Gregory in trouble. Carter had a slowdown, but Benjamin Gregory basically says his day is done, and his day is done not by a meatball conventionally, but the connection flag has caught out Benjamin Gregory, so he is done and written off until he can get that sorted and get back in the car again.
Yeah, so lots of connection problems. We saw our defending series champion James Boumet have issues now. Just, you hate to see it, to say the least, but Ben Gregory looks like his car at least made it into the pits. We'll see if he can get back out there as we're still watching this battle for the lead heat up once again between Gabrielsen, Slijepcevic, and Mira working through the 11-12 stadium area.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 in line, being chased by 4, 5, and 6 in line, being chased by 7, 8, and 9 in line, being chased by 10, 11, and 12 in line. 4 groups of 3 at the front of this field, Jeremy, and a spinner, which is Ivan Turnerson from 11th place, all on his own, just overcooking it as he worked through, and the back just didn't want to settle in the Lamborghini.
And that's kind of strange because normally that Lamborghini's not tail happy, but looks like he just got a wheel off the groove, and that'll do it sometimes. It is a single groove area through turn number 12, so that back end just not so happy. Wanted to see what that front end's looking at and didn't like the view. So either way, Slijepcevic trying to see if he can hang on to Gabrielsen, looks to the inside, gets inside the mirrors. Not going to make it happen, but still plenty of time to make something happen here at the first third of this race as we see Sansom slow coming out of the pits. Not sure what happened there with the 911, albeit he is still 5 laps down. And Ben Bennyworth trying to close in, trying to hold off Jacques Eva, but we're still watching this battle here from Gabrielsen as he's now opened up about a 1 to 2 car length gap over Slijepcevic and Anders Mira.
Well, I think for Colin Sansom, he was just going to let the traffic go and not worry, and that's a very worrisome blink there from Leander Gabrielsen now at the front of this. So here's another driver who is starting to have a few concerns in that department, and Slijepcevic will drive carefully and cautiously around with that being able to deal with itself at this moment. They're now moving over towards turn 11 here, and the one worry that you'll have as a driver in second place trying to get by first, it's not just the fact that you don't know where the car in front is, it's the fact that when that car disappears, you do not know if you're even going to get towed along the main straight like you do in various other laps, because the car blinks away and comes back again.
Sometimes you're sitting in their cockpit with them, so that's always a tough proposition. That's one thing I always hate, especially when you're calling races, because you kind of hold your breath a little bit, hoping that you're not going to see a big incident, because that's where some of our biggest incidents have happened. So we got to pass back there for position, but Slijepcevic, I'm not sure if he's trying to get some fresh air inside that Porsche, or if he's trying to get inside the mirrors in the head of Gabrielsen, which is easier said than done, working their way through 18 and 19 once again. And I love how you can just go over the rumble strips off to the right there in turn 19 to set yourself up for a good run to make your mark in turn number 1. Let's see if Carter has anything though for Sedgwick. I think he's too far away. Either way, Carter has had a great season, whether it be here in WSR or World GT, I should say, or anywhere across the system. Carter's really becoming a name to reckon with in some circles.
Yeah, he's starting to do well. Had a very good run in the British Sim Racing Cup. Tied Charlie Devlin on points there as he set himself up with notice. But he's on the back of Jack Sedgwick here. Tristan Engelstad is really driving well around this place. And here's something we haven't talked about yet. The balance of performance. We note that there are certain cars that are preferred than others. But when you see the front of this field, Jeremy, and it's 5 different manufacturers in your top 5, I think that's a very good sight.
It's a very good sight indeed, and it goes to show you that, Andy Shield and the rest of the team take this BOP seriously. And it's really no surprise when you run an Andy Shield championship, you know that you can get anything and be very competitive. You just choose something on driver comfort. And it's absolutely fantastic that, up and down the field, you see different manufacturers racing with other manufacturers. It's not, okay, well, I'm going to run the Ford Mustang, and 5 of your top 6 drivers are all in Ford Mustangs. It's a different manufacturer in a different position. And this is exactly what sports car racing should be.
Yeah, it's about not just the fastest driver, it's about the best machinery and how that balances itself out and works. Carter watching on the back then of the Aston Martin right now of Jack Sedgwick, and not necessarily finding a way to do it, but note the front left of Aiden Carter right now. It is exposed, and he's got damage. You can't see it on this view, but he's got a bit of a fender bender.
That's just street racing, to say the least, as you know, you just got to make sure that you're still on it the whole time. And yeah, it's hard to see from here too, but when you're running with damage, especially on these street courses, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better throughout. So Carter's really got to limp it home before the first round of pit stops, and hopefully won't be in the pit box too long, so that way he can get that number 42 back up there. He is leading the Pro-Am by about a couple seconds, but William Guthrie still knocking on the door of Nikolai Pulisen for 10th place overall.
Yeah, and Pulisen struggling here. This might be the moment where his championship hopes and efforts and dreams start to go backwards here for the Dane, and that after what was such a dominant drive over at the likes then of Mosport. He could have walked away with the championship lead. He got a little bit unlucky and had to really fight his way back, but I turn around and say he's going to be in a world of hurt like Ivan Turnison is, who is now your latest retirement then from the race, and that is John Lloyd getting at the latest possible moment out of the way for both Pulisen and Guthrie to work on through. And we haven't really seen much lap traffic here, but lap traffic anywhere on a street circuit is tough.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're at. You just got to make sure to negotiate lap traffic, and that's something that I actually saw in the race I was calling this past weekend from California, where driver had a good lead, but the last two laps could not negotiate traffic, and then the final quarter got pipped at the line by 1/10 of a second. So it doesn't matter if it's real or sim, everybody's having to deal with lap traffic. Granted, our race is at Willow Springs, but still, it's like a street course in my opinion, where if you take a wheel off, it's going to suck you right in because it's just dirt. It's not grass. There's hardly any walls, so you really got to race it like a street course. But as you see Guthrie closing in ever so slightly on Pulisen, little bit of a wiggle there coming off of turn number 1, but that just goes to show you how committed Guthrie is to getting around the 242.
Yeah, he really wants this, and I think he wants this sooner rather than later. There's some great scrapping as well going on right at the back of the field here for 18th and 19th as well out there, because Ben Bennyworth and Sharks Eva having a big showcase right now. Sharks, of course, didn't have the luxury of qualifying the Epic Sim Racing Mustang out there, but he is trying here as the South African to get anything and everything through on the more nimble Aston Martin of Ben Bennyworth, and the Quartermass car is holding its ground well, but Sharks isn't one to give up. He would love to find a way to get this move, as well as seeing Simon Andre Livingston on the back as well in 20th place. He'll be trying to eye up points as well.
At this point, it's just a matter of just keeping the points in check, as you got that class position up ahead between Eva and Bennyworth. Bennyworth in that green Aston Martin up ahead, and here comes Eva looking to the inside. He's going to try a late break. No, and that's not a smart place to late break either, because the corner looks a lot tighter than what it is, and of course you also have to really set yourself up around turn number 12. So I would say 11's almost a throwaway, and a throwaway corner for turn 12.
It's the sort of corner, Jeremy, I wonder if you agree with me on this. The sort of style of pass that you have to do is your dirt oval block pass.
Yeah, I would say so. You know what? It's funny you say that, because I actually christened my wife to watch some dirt track racing last night from Coles County Speedway in Illinois, and about 10 laps in, and she says, okay, the racing's not bad. Wait, there's 30 laps left, and she just left. So, hey, it's not for everybody.
No, it's not for everyone, and Sharks Eva says this pass is for me, and we'll get this one on Ben Bennyworth, but he fights back, does Ben, as he works on forward for it. Alex Rogers, by the way, is in the pits, and I'm looking around, he's driven it in of his own accord, so that will start the pit window with an hour 13 on the clock. So Alex Rogers making that call, trying to get an undercut on everyone, as Eva has got the place, and now will have to try and chase down his own teammate in Jocko Vonderlit to try and get to that next level. There are changes afoot for 4th place, as there goes Lucas Prada down the inside of Aiden Young, and suddenly there's a car betwixt and between the likes of Prada and Boumé.
Tell you what, Aiden Young have a day while he is sitting in 5th place. He is doing all he can to keep James Boumé at bay and behind him, which we all know is easier said than done. Of course, last time we talked to Aiden, he's like, you know what, it's just great to be back, and I'm really stepping up my game. This is a great showing for the young American as he holds off James Boumé, who I've got to say, this is himself even being patient, trying to pick and choose which way he can win. He can get around Aiden Young. He's going to try here in turn number 17. Does he keep it? Yeah, he's going to. Is Aiden Young going to go discretion is a better part of valor because he knows he can set himself up through turn number 1 because that Corvette is just so strong once Boumé gets around him. Now he'll get the advantage through across the line. Let's see if Young pops out in turn number 1. Doesn't look like he's going to, so I think he's going to sit back there and see what happens with the Mercedes.
No, he backed out of it there, did Aiden Young. He could have thrown a Hail Mary move, but it's far too early in the race for something like that, and Aiden knows he will look to try and pick up the points. He is a driver who has done a very good job at holding his points, holding his ground. He's 6th in the championship. He's 132 points adrift, but he's been fighting to get up to speed out there, and if he found that a couple laps earlier, or a couple races earlier, he could have been right up there fighting for a championship effort over the course of this season. So James Boumé up back into 5th position, and we'll be looking at Prada in 4th, but they've got those 3 in front of Gabrielson, Slijepcevic and Mira, and now they are 5.5 seconds back off of them by comparison. So they are really starting to drop that time. They are starting to find that there are concerns that they will have to deal with. There's battles further back as William Guthrie is now going to be going at it with Nikolai Poulsen into 11, as there's Bennyworth, there's the push on through right now of these 3 continuing on at the front. They will have lap traffic to navigate through. That's one Benjamin Gregory there for Boosted Motorsports, who is going to stay out of the way in that Mustang on the left-hand side, allow the top 3 to go through without any real cause of concern as they work their way over to turn number 17 with that run through of Kalev Barja then that comes along in its midst. So I would sit and say at this point in time that I think there is moves aplenty to be had, and Slijepcevic, I think, is buying his time. I think Gabrielson here is doing quite a bit of donkey work. So pushing through turn 3, and now looking around at this, and the first window, which I think truly and magnificently will open in about 5 minutes' time, as they look to set themselves apart here. Mira really looking aggressive here as he works through in the BMW, trying to find it. You've got to work on a tightrope on the outside of turn 7 in towards turn 8, because what you have to do is try and straighten off the exit as much as you can. Get the drive along here, this run of sweeping rights and lefts through the various car parking section out there of this stadium, and you know how critical it is going to be to just get the drive and launch that pretty much pins the fact that you've got to get back to the inside, that you know you've got to try and find this move. And really, I think this is where Anders Mira is just trying to buy his time in a car that isn't quite on top of the balance of performance at the moment. Looked good over at the Nürburgring 24, yes, did the BMW, but traditionally it is a car that is always good there at the Nürburgring 24, and at many other circuits it does seem to find a little bit more trouble out there. So he probably looks for a circuit that's a little bit more bumpy than others, and you're going to struggle to find that here in Miami at a relatively newer circuit to go and get that way and result. Into the left once again at 17, and Gabrielson then just about, I would say, not dealing with any pressure here. Slijepcevic knows this game. He wants to try and win this one, and if Gabrielson's using more fuel up, then he's going to have to take a longer stop, and he will try and run away. The question's going to be, though, Anders Mira, and that is the big one. As in comes Benjamin Gregory, then this will be his first scheduled stop of the day. Arthur Thurtle now is going to come in, and I'm interested to note where Arthur Thurtle's going to come out in comparison to Alex Rogers here in this race, because Rogers, of course, took that very important, very early pit stop out there, and that early stop, I think, is setting itself up picture in picture then, as we see the pit service taking hold. Long service then needing to be taken, 25.5 seconds for Benjamin Gregory. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. Very similar here for Arthur Thurtle, 24.3 seconds then. Rogers is making his way down the front stretch now, so this is going to be very close, but remember, when they exit pit lane, you actually get an advantage through turn 1, so you've got to be almost over and alongside. You get the run out then into turn 2, and that's the clearance factor needed. Arthur Thurtle has covered off Alex Rogers, and he has done so by a pretty good margin of about 1.5 seconds, as you've got your leading trio. Still there, still working, still looking at this, going right. Round of pit stops there. Prada almost getting the wall behind, as Slijepcevic is going to be the one under the cosh here, because Anders Mira has got himself a lovely run, and it's Slijepcevic going defensive, and that's a big old lift from Anders Mira. He lifts and coasts from about, I don't know, 150 meters back there, and says, oh my goodness, that's going to be a lot of fuel save in the tank for this, and this might actually play the game of the one-stopper versus the two-stopper with the amount of tank that everyone's looking at here. So patience being the key aim out there that we see, and I wonder whether Anders Mira is trying to get this one to go further than anybody else. Aidan Carter then, leader of Pro-Am, has just dived into pit lane. So that is going to set in motion maybe some of the other drivers to think about their strategy. The likes of William Guthrie, for example, will be keeping an eye on it. Tommy Vidal will be keeping an eye on it as well. And where that is going to line itself up, Ben Bennyworth down in pit lane as Slijepcevic then holds himself steady and understands what he needs, as Bennyworth then ultimately, I think, has just taken a turn out there from pit lane by the looks of things. So did he just get the launch off the line? No, in fact, I'll correct myself here. So what he did was he hit his marks, didn't expect the marks to be so quick, and that has triggered our timing, because he has gone back behind the line then to take his service, and now he is pulling away, and he is pulling away on lap 21. So yeah, he will fall back into line on our timing tower, but Ben Bennyworth there finding out that he has overshot his box, and it's always very scary when that comes to pass. But no pass being offered then from your top 3 into 17 once again, and it's still Gabrielson, Slijepcevic and Mira here who are just holding this stationary pattern. They're quite happy about the way that this is setting itself to be at this point in time, but I think he'll be looking around saying, right, we're still 5 seconds clear of Prada and Boume. Aiden Young's being dropped off the back now to the tune of 1.2 seconds, and then it's Engelstad and Sedgwick who are the next in the group. So they're looking at the gaps and they're thinking it's very good. Tommy Vidal now coming into pit lane, and it's a very, I would say, pit lane. You've got a little chicane before you hit the marker. Very easy to get an unsafe pit entry if you overcook it into the various sections of track. So I would look at what Tommy's done on his stop. He's been okay. Good run around by Slijepcevic then through turn 8. They are really getting close to that Tech Pro there on the right-hand side. They've got to be so careful to not clamber and clatter into it, because they know that that is going to be a sentence for damage. Simon Andre Livingston now looking to make his first of 2 stops then on this day. But again, it's a long moment here, just lifting off, giving as much room as you possibly can. A wide window being given in for many to go and look at, to see and to say, Jeremy, what can you do? And Gabrielson now is just slowly turning the screw as fuel save becomes tantamount to the way this front 3 are running here.
And of course, that could all get undone depending on how long they all stay in their pit box. And Gabrielsen, yeah, he knows how far back, Prada, Bume, and Young really are at this time. But no use fighting this early in the race. I mean, look, we're a little bit just before halfway. And of course, Alex Rogers now into the pits. Let's see if your leaders decide they're going to come visit pit road. I'd imagine it's going to be any lap now that they decide to come in and answer the call. There goes first and second as Mira stays out.
Anders Mira going longer. That's not the shock. What is, though, is Alex Rogers has found the barriers at turn 4. He's got loose, and he's been unable to save it, and he's thrown it in the Tech Pro. So, ultimately, that's tough. Slijepcevic with that big 45-degree angle as almost everybody then is down in and getting their service sorted. It is a battle of pit crews, and it is not the fastest pit lane in the world because it's actually a very narrow pit building.
It really is, and it's not one of those pit buildings that, is taken down once a year. This is also the home of the Miami Drivers Club, and look at how close Gabrielsen gets ahead of Slijepcevic. That angle couldn't help him too much as both of those drivers now come out onto the circuit. And still waiting for Prada, Sedgwick, Young, and Poulsen to come out as well. But Mira and Bume, old adversaries.
Oh, Prada's around! Prada's around on pit exit! Prada's around on pit exit, and he's done it all on his own. Cold tyres, nosed it into the wall, somehow kept it on the straight and narrow to avoid an unsafe pit exit penalty.
It's a very challenging pit exit, but yeah, look at that. Cedric able to get by, Young able to get by with no contact either. So talk about being safe right there. That was an absolute fantastic save. As you see, Poulsen closing in on third or fourth position.
Lucas Prada's lucky that he's not got very extensive damage, and Poulsen here is directly behind Turtle, who is behind Prada on circuit. That's the way they line up. Jacco Vonderlit then gets a black flag penalty out there, and I think that will be for an unsafe pit exit out there if he's not been too careful. Yeah, he's put 2 tyres over the white line. That's why he's got that. Mira and Bume then in for their stops, and James Bume, I'd think, would have absolutely no idea what's happened on pit exit.
Better safe than sorry for that as Mira and Bume come onto their marks, waiting for Adam State also to make his pit entry. He does right there, so that'll give the lead back to Gabrielsen. Look at the gap, though, that Gabrielsen now has over Slijepcevic. It was 0.2 of a second when they came across the line last time. Now it's at 1.7 seconds.
Look at Anders Mira. He's going to get out, and he's going to get out ahead of them here. That's critical in the way that he's gone about business there. He has gone and got the jump on Gabrielsen and Slijepcevic a lap longer in the box, and it has allowed him to leapfrog the pair of them, and that will really excite him. But he'll be on cold tyres potentially off of this get-go, and he'll be very much looking at it. Now, this is one of these circuits where with the high track temperature, I'd expect tyres rather than going and doing the Ethan Critchley strat of not having it, but it's very clear that here comes the move, and here comes the chance. They're going to be lining up, teeing up here on his own teammate is Leander Gabrielsen and Axel Slijepcevic. Turtle in the wall and in trouble.
We're going 3 wide for the lead heading into turn number 11. I don't think we are, because Gabrielsen going to take the advantage. He's going to bring Slijepcevic with him. So Mira, in spite of the 47 degrees Celsius, 116 degrees track temperature, just could not get those tires up to temp fast enough, as he's going to fall back just a little bit to third. But I'll tell you what, Slijepcevic able to cut down that lead from Gabrielsen in just 1 lap, basically almost to 1/10 of a second.
We might need a replay of what happened to Arthur Thurtle, because it was Adam State coming out of the pit who'd lost the back end through turn 3, and there he's lost it. Bang! Into the wall once, twice, or you're out.
Last thing you want to do is end up in the wall as Gabrielson taking a little bit of defensive pop to the inside over Slijepcevic. That's given Anders Mira a chance to close into the BMW. So the teammates are sitting first and third right now as Slijepcevic trying to take his altitude-free Porsche up to the point, but Gabrielson has it for the time being. And Slijepcevic, he's not going to be able to make a move, but still getting in those mirrors saying, hey, I'm still sitting right here.
He's still there. He's still very much focused on the fact that he can make it. Lots of bounce, though, over the curve at turn 2. That's going to completely stymie the run and pull him back to Anders Mira. Then as that gap suddenly echoes out to 9/10 of a second, in through 4 and over to turn 5 and 6 that immediately follows after it. So these three set themselves up. I tell you, has been a really good winner out of that first round of pit stops. Jack Sedgwick, he's now into 5th place.
Great overcut there from Sedgwick as he's doing what he can to try and make himself available higher in the point standings. But tell you what, these pit stops were not good for a lot because you see that your top 3, they still have about 12 seconds to get to James Boumet, who's sitting in 4th. Granted, I know that he wants to have a better showing, but I'm sure he's one driver that's probably looking forward to that checker flag in less than an hour.
Well, there's a lot of drivers who'll be very happy to see it because in a field of 27, we had one non-starter in Howard Hassan. We've lost Fraser Smith, Adam Watson, Ivan Turnison, Colin Sansom is out of the race. Benjamin Gregory's 3 laps down. We've lost Alex Rogers, and now Thurtle and State are put in as drivers who are in trouble here today. So points very hard to come by, but if you do find the end of this race, it's clear there's big points to come by here at Miami.
Huge point, because with only running one race, you get the maximum amount of points if you were running 2 races. But I'll tell you what, that's going through Gabrielson's head right now as he tries to keep Slijepcevic, who's essentially trophy hunting this session, trying to keep him behind him. Anders Mira with a great showing as well. I'm sure if he can make the schedule, he'd probably want every week to be here at Miami because it's a pretty high showing in a season that is pretty forgettable for the number 20 as he sits right now in 3rd place, 1.3 seconds behind the leading duo.
I think he struggled as Anders Mira. He's not had the outright pace to go and win a race out there. This is the closest he's been all season long to picking up that race win that he's been clamoring and craving about. But what he's also noting too is the fact that, you know, he sits back and consistency is what has got him to where he is. But the flip side of it is that when he's had a couple rounds where, you know, he has been beaten about left and right, that's where he's been dropping the points, because it's not that he's a bad driver, he's getting into incidents that's his fault. I think he's just been very unlucky. He's been wrong place, wrong time with a number of aggressive drivers.
Oh, and I don't disagree. I think that those are both very valid points. And we know the caliber of driver that Mira is, and you know, a lot of it has to do with being at the wrong place at the wrong time. A lot of it too is BMW that he feels isn't up to his standards. Now, should that mean that maybe next season he switches to something a little different? Maybe, but it seems like that Mira really knows this BMW, and hopefully he gets it up to the front. I think a podium finish is probably a good showing for him right now, but pit strategy, look at he's gained so much time on pit strategy. The overcut worked for this time, but I think it's going to work just as good for the second and final pit stop a little bit later today.
Yeah, and that will be with about 15 minutes to go as into the pits goes John Lloyd to make his stop known, as he will be, I think, a little bit shy to get home from right here and now in the number 72 machine, so he'll have a little bit of work to do in the Fry Guys Motorsports Aston Martin, and I think he'll be due a stop with about 8 minutes to go in the race to properly set him up and away. But Slijepcevic walks into today and does so at 17th in the championship, so definitely out of contention to go and pick up some points and to get what he wants. Gabrielson will be looking at today thinking, Young and Sedgwick, those are my 2 rivals. A top 5 what I want in the championship. His rivals, 5th and 6th today.
great showing so far out of Sedgwick and Young. And yeah, got to think the long game here with the points. I mean, look, there's only 2 rounds left after this one, but you still have 4 races left to go as Jocks Eva trying to get around Andre Livingston. And I can talk for a living. That's the battle for third in the AM classes. Engelstadt well up into the top 10 with Ben Pennyworth sitting. So that's not Pennyworth I was looking at. Janis Schaltane, that's a driver we have not mentioned that much. He sits 13th, up 3 spots from his qualifying grid. And speaking of gains, I just took a look at Jocks Eva. Jake, he's up 11, up to 15th right now, but he's too far away from this battle here to make any more gains. You see him just popping into the corner.
Yeah, those gains are really important. Where everyone has fallen by the wayside, it's been Jocks Eva who's been picking them up, and he's been passing, and that is a big struggle on the rear tyres for Seaman Andre Livingston, who just has to gather it up and realise I've got to take 2 into the left of turn 7 and 8, and now knows that Jocks Eva is going to get a run. Mustang a Mustang as they work towards turn 11, and this is where you got to try and think, are you going to be brave or foolhardy? Brave was the first thought out there for Jocks Eva, but ultimately never had enough clearance side by side, so backs out of it and says there'll be another opportunity another day.
Still plenty of time to make something happen. If I'm Jocks Eva, I'm going to be sitting back there and now studying where Livingston's good, where he's not so good, to know where to make that move. So we'll see if how this plays out as both those drivers get on that long back straightaway from 16 into 17. And of course, that gives Schaltane a chance to close in, albeit 17 seconds in arrears. So that may not be him further back, but either way, this battle for the third spot in the AM category, absolutely fantastic. And we've seen some great battles all throughout this race, Jay. These drivers have not been racing like this is an hour 45 endurance race. They're treating it more like one of the sprint races.
They are, and this definitely has had an endurance feel to it today with the number of retirements we've had, the amount of sitting and waiting that we've had over this as Mira batters the curbs going through 14 and 15 into 16 there, and I think you get the sense that the only way you're going to get time through that section is if you do bound over the curbs and basically take a leap of faith as you work through and hope that the tyres grip back up and you get that focus. Worth noting as well here on this BMW, and part of the lineage of this BMW out here in iRacing, this car released before it did in the real world, and one of the caveats that it has to it, it has a real-life Fanatec steering wheel.
Which is absolutely fantastic, by the way. They're able to put that into the game. And, of course, you know, Fanatec, a fantastic sim company. So definitely if you have a chance to get a look at a Fanatec wheel, I'm not paid by them. I've just tried them out left and right, some of the gaming expos. Definitely give them a chance because, really, I don't have the time or the money right now to drop that much on a steering wheel. Someday soon, though. I look at it longingly every time I see one in person. Still got Gabrielson, Slijepcevic, and Mira. They've been on each other all race long. 1, 2, 3, and now they're about equidistant apart. Doesn't look like it's so much from Slijepcevic and Mira, but again, that Lamborghini just a little bit longer than the two behind. Either way, this has been a fantastic battle as they've been trying to fight each other tooth and nail throughout the race.
They have, and I think that they've been really good about this here. They've just been setting themselves up for what is my race going to look like? Where am I going to find the opportunities, the passing lanes, the real sense of this race can be for me? And I'm going to look around and think, okay, well, we're driving ourselves absolutely away from everybody else behind. I mean, look at the gap they've got to James Boumé. When was the last time you saw James Boumé legitimately on pace 13 seconds off the back of someone?
It's been a long time, and I can't even remember the last time we saw that. I mean, outside of the Nürburgring 24, that's about it, because you don't expect James Boumé to be that far back. Now he's just coming into the picture. The last time you would say that is when we're watching cars he was about to put a lap down a couple laps in advance. But here's the thing, Boumé's running the same times as the leaders, It's just they got better track position in throughout the pit stops. I think that was the point where Bume fell back even further. Look, he was 4 or 5 seconds before the pit stops, but quick pit stops out of Gabrielsen, Slijepcevic, and Mira really have helped them out to extend that lead.
Do you think he cares that he's 13 seconds back right now? Because he'll look at it and go, okay, Anders Mira closes in slightly, but what's my net gains looking at? My nearest competitors are 9th and 10th. I am gaining out there on pro points 1, 2, 3 positions over Prada, 4 positions over Pulisic. That is what you call exactly what you need with 3 rounds to go. Just manage the manageables. It's what we call a Prostian-style drive.
And here's the thing, too. Mira is 90 points back of Bume. That's a good point stay for James, honestly, because you just sit there, you don't destroy your equipment, you don't destroy your race. You know what? I mean, you could probably lose battles to Sedgwick and Young and still be in good position. So, yeah, you're 13 seconds behind this whole battle for the lead. We've been watching most of the race. But at the end of the day, heck, just run the race, gather the points, and we'll set up for Detroit next weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be the key. Detroit-Belle Isle, I think, is going to be the make or break race for many out there. And speaking of which, Pro-Am and Am race leaders going at it together as well. So while we've got this on for the lead, it's worth talking about these other 2 categories. It's not often that you see the Am and the Pro-Am fighting it out for track positions here. Bottom of your screen right now as they go up underneath the Florida Turnpike and work back along the left of 16. Now with the drive to 17, very sluggish through the corner is Aiden Carter because he's got a slowdown penalty, not for the first time today.
Slijepcevic goes to the point finally. Anders Mira follows him around as Gabrielsen goes a little wide through turn number 17, but how long will that last with Slijepcevic up front? Gabrielsen slowing down just a little bit, losing a little bit of time and space, but Slijepcevic, your new leader, as we work about 46 minutes left to go in this race, but Mira still all over the back of that Porsche as they come out of the 1-2 complex.
It looked very much, Jeremy, I don't know about you, like that was Leander Gabrielsen lulled into a false sense of security. First time in this stint that we've seen any form of side-by-side from the leading trio, and Gabrielsen outdid his mark because he wasn't quite prepared for it, and ultimately it cost him 2 places at the tightest hairpin on this circuit.
Yeah, I think it was just locked into that false sense of security, and oh wait, now I'm down to 3rd. So we'll see how that works out. If there's anybody who can really get up there and battle for that lead, it's going to be Gabrielsen. So let's see how this works out. Maybe he's going to save it for the pit stop and either do the overcut or the undercut. Either one is possible, but I've got to say now, Mira licking his chops because he is 1 spot higher to the lead that he really so desires, because out of the top 5, he's the only one who does not have a win.
He needs a win, and I would argue he needs one soon. Leander Gabrielsen hasn't won anything this season. Neither has Axel Slijepcevic. They're all eyeing up their first win of the campaign, and they all think that today is a very, very good chance. In fact, the only chance they might feel of getting exactly what they want. Gabrielsen then on the brakes to 17 and says, okay, there isn't really much here for me, but I can settle down in. And actually, for the first time, he can start playing the fuel save game because he doesn't have enough legs to get him by his BMW teammate.
I'm wondering if Gabrielsen's just going to sit back there and kind of help out the best that he can, but Mira just trying to do what he can to get around Slijepcevic, which we know is a little bit easier said than done. We've seen that over the past hour or so, where Slijepcevic has been able to hold off Anders Mira, but all 3 of these drivers are now running where they started in this race. As you take a look at Lucas Prada trying to close in on Aiden Carter. Carter, your Pro-Am leader right now, sitting in 8th with Prada in 9th place, as about 0.2 of a second separate them. And they can go race as hard as they want because Pulisic is 3 seconds behind them. Over Pulisic still has gapped William Guthrie, so it's only a matter of time before that Falcon Mercedes gets bigger and bigger in their mirrors.
2/10 quicker on that last lap was Nikolai Pedersen. He did a 56.5 to the 56.7 of Lukas Prada. But Prada needs to get by Aiden Carter because Tristan Engelstad is a couple seconds down the road and he's eyeing up Aiden Young, who's falling backwards at the moment in this middle stint. So the Corvette's not having good times at this moment, and I think that's really, really telling. Jack Sedgwick has just said, see you in the showers to him, and it's now 5 seconds down the road. So if you want to put this into perspective here, Aiden Young, middle of the race, I don't think he's having as much comfortableness or confidence out there running this circuit on his own. I think he works a lot better with someone to follow, like, for example, what Tommy Vidal's doing right now on the back of William Guthrie.
And this is the battle that they so desire because it's going to determine who's going to stand where on the podium. And of course, if something does slip, you've got Janis Schulte, who wants to gain at least one more position on these guys. Of course, behind this battle between Guthrie and Vettel, you've got several AM drivers. So really, one slip up and it's not going to be that much of a harm or a foul, but still, Fast Tommy. We've seen how high that he has climbed up the back up the standings. He's back to where he qualified, so trying to get around Guthrie, that's going to be one thing. But these two, you know, in the AM class, Pro-Am class, I should say, that they are just going to be tooth and nail along each other. But it's going to be easier said than done also to catch Aiden Carter, which Aiden's just on rails today.
Yeah. He's driven really, really well, and I think he's driving himself to the Pro-Am title here is Aiden Carter. He's buoyed with confidence, and I think we're definitely seeing that in spades. Tommy Vidal now is looking to set himself in with William Guthrie, and they know that this is for second and third out there in today's racing. And although William Guthrie comes in as a reigning champion and there's been a lot of calls to pull him up to the Pro Division out there, I think the second half of the season, even when we've seen reduced numbers, he's just been a very consistent in and around the top 10 guy every single time you go out there and race. And I think that's what William Guthrie offers on the table, and that's not changed as here comes Prada, big lunge down to the inside. Can you get it slowed up? No, he's gone diving in. He's a day late and $1 short to try and get that sorted. And if he thought that move was going to work there, Jeremy, he's a couple teddy bears short of a picnic.
That reminds me of the last time and only time I was in Miami. I saw they had a good Cuban sandwich. Thought, hey, that's great to go. But the second I saw it, I slammed on my brakes. It was just all too late by then, as it was on my table. So I get where Prada's coming from that one. However, that gives Pulisic a chance to close in as well. Remember, last time he was 3 seconds back. Jake, now he's 2 seconds back, which that's within striking distance of Lucas Prada. That'll be a battle for Pro, and will help Pulisic at least get one more spot up. As you see Aiden Young holding off Tristan Engelstad. That's another driver who's having a banner day here at Miami.
Yeah, Engelstad, I think, buoyed. He did a lot of practice. He was racing in the HP Tuners event with Oscar Piastri 2 weeks ago here at Miami. So I think he put a lot of time and effort in to go and qualify for that, to be up at pace. And when you have a little bit of lateral experience not too far away from a round like this, it's so easy to lean on that, isn't it, Jeremy?
It really is. And, you know, here's the thing. Drivers are good at some tracks, but, you know, this is a newer track to the service. So that's why you're starting to see some drivers we don't normally see up at the front run their way around. I'm wondering if Pulisic's just having some problems because the past couple of races, if you remember, Jake, drivers were constantly saying, well, I've had to buy this track. I had to buy this, that track. I think a couple interviews that I had last week while you were getting ready for that event, they all said, okay, you know what, I have to go buy this track and sort it out. And to me, while a lot of these drivers have so much experience on iRaces, Engelstad looks to the inside. Hold on, as both of them make side-to-side contact. Little bit of a hip check, and Aiden Young's going to get the advantage to turn number 12 once again. He's going to keep the position. But back to what I was saying, you know, you would think that these drivers would look at the schedule and say, okay, well, this is a new track that I don't have. I should get it and practice on it. So for some of these drivers, yeah, we had that off week last week, but it is still a short turnaround time to run a new track, buy another new track, and learn that new track in time to be competitive.
Yeah, I think that the good side of it is, if it's a new track, you can go for it and really say it. And again, Engelstad absolutely throws one up the inside. A block pass, but he can't get it sorted. Here comes Aiden Young straight back. He is trying to really make himself known here up against Aiden and say, look, I'm going to put one on a pro. But at the moment, Aiden's just holding his ground. He's just driving off the exits here. He's giving room. He's giving space. But Engelstad is just absolutely acing the brakes, but he just can't find a way to drive it off the exit in the BMW.
I'll tell you what, the moves that he is making, we might as well start another hashtag. I'm still keeping Carter for pro, but Engelstad for Pro-Am, because he's really showing his pace the second half of the season and how much better that he is getting behind the wheel with some of the best competitors here in iRacing. And of course, look who's also joining the fight. It's Aiden Carter and Lucas Prada. So now we'll really get to see how Engelstad's defensive skills are near the end of this second stint, because the tires are starting to go away. Track temperature is now 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit, with an ambient temperature 27 degrees Celsius, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And like I said in the open, these tires are screaming for mercy.
Again, he chucks it in, and he's trying to force the way by, and he's going to have to leave room here. Young just leans on the inside through 12, over to 13. Inside now is going to be with Engelstad, trying to run that line around the outside. Engelstad chucks it up the hill, and he's overcooked it now, so he'll get a slowdown penalty that he's got to try and serve. Out there, he's turned, and just like that, through goes Carter, through goes Pulisic. Yeah, I think Prada got caught up in that, and Engelstad, in a fit of anger to try and get off of the corner again, drives it straight into the wall, and he knows that he has made a huge mess of that.
Well, that's one way to serve a slowdown penalty, not the optimal way, but he also has lost his whole rear deck lid out there on the circuit, as that is on the start of the back straightaway. Let's take a look, and yeah, just a little bit of a bump at the wrong place for Aiden Young, and there you go. There's where the spin was.
Prada very unlucky. He tried to find a way around. He's actually dented in the front right corner on contact with Aiden Young, so Prada just can't catch a break then after the hit that he's had, the spin that he had coming off the pit, and now he knows that he's behind the 8-ball and behind Nikolai Pulisic, which could make it a 1-2 fight between the boys at Falcon out there, between Boume and Pulisic, but he won't mind those at the front as we focus on towards turn 4. Out on circuit here, this fast sweeping left for Tommy Vidal and William Guthrie, who are now fighting around for that top 10, and also for Engelstad, as he's now in the pits with the damage and he can't get it repaired. It is such a free kick for Janis Schulte.
Yeah, no, Schulte counting his lucky stars as he had Simon Andre Livingston. There's Engelstad into the pits. Schulte, though, he's got a big gap between he and Livingston for position overall and in the AM class. So, man, have a day, Schulte. Talk about a win just falling onto your lap. As still watching, Slijepcevic opening up the gap between he and Mira. Neither of these guys going to come into the pits just yet. I think it's way too early anyway for either of these guys. Run it dry and get the least amount of fuel and get some new rubber on there to really have a run to the finish. We're scheduled for 55 laps. We got about 34.5 minutes left in this race, and anything can happen. As you saw, it came unglued really quick for Engelstad. He's still into the pits and falling down the order.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's looking a little bit precarious now for Leander Gabrielsen in third place. The pace that he found on that last lap, 56.2, Mira a 55.8, Slijepcevic a 55.9 out there. By comparison, Boume a 56.4, 56.5 for Sedgwick out there, 56.9 for Aiden Carter. So I turn around and look at it. These guys are pushing right now more than what Leander is able to keep with at this stage.
But here's the thing, how much is that going to last throughout the end of the stint? We know how balanced that Porsche is for this facility. And of course, he's got his wipers going, which is quite interesting as works his way around turn number 12. Mira, though, with a great showing today, he kind of hopes that he can catch Slijavicic on a bit of a mistake, because now it opened up to about a 1 second gap between Slijavicic and Mira coming off of heading down the straightaway, I should say, off of turn number 16. Single file, they make their way down. And I've got to say this, I've seen more action here than I have on the Florida Turnpike in some corners. We got 19 cars still technically running throughout the field.
Yeah, they're all running, and there are some that are laps down, like John Lloyd and Ben Gregory, for example, who are 1 and 3 laps adrift, respectively. Engelstad has found a way to get back out and going again. He's right in front of Nikolai Perlison, so he's lost an entire lap from what he needs. But the race win out there, Anders Mira, I think desperately is going to need this, not just in terms of just saying what the confidence the race win will be, but actually for the points it brings over James Boumet, and to pull him back into the fight for not just second in the championship, but to give himself something to head to Detroit Belle Isle.
Which, if you thought this was an interesting street course, wait till you get to Belle Isle. It's between the U.S. and Canada, and it is an absolutely fantastic facility. I wish it was still on the calendar, because we would actually go there instead of going to the 500 and partake in those races. Lucas Prada comes into the pits for his final pit stop. There's Fast Tommy still trying to see if he can get around William Guthrie for the second place in the Pro-Am class. Closes in, but it's not enough space for him to make it. It's Ben Gregory now into the pits as well.
Prada's stopped 14 seconds, and not really long enough to do anything about the front clip that's pushed in a little bit after the contact with Aiden Young. So for Tommy Vidal, it's agonising here for him at the moment, because he's stuck in this horrible 5/6 of a second gap that you get, because a lot of these corners around here at Miami, they are the type that you absolutely love if you're in a Formula vehicle and you've got a lot of downforce and you can chuck it through the corners. It is not a place that you love it if you're a GT car and you just want to use the mechanical grip to get around it.
This is a great mechanical grip if you're track, I should say, to get around, especially with the long straightaways and the corners that flow. You know, as much as we rag on Herman Tilke and some of his courses in the past couple of years, he's finally been able to find a flow to some of these racetracks. There's nothing split, and some can say it started in Istanbul, but either way, he's done quite well, and I think that now there's a certain point where it's not just a Formula One track for some of these newer design tracks. They're an all-around track.
I argue his best circuit is one of his earliest efforts as Jack Sedgwick comes in Sepang. I think that what he did with that circuit was absolutely wonderful, and I think it's still a shame it's not on Formula calendars out there at this point. Little wide there by Guthrie as Sedgwick will look at his marks and how long he has to stay in the box here. It's over 10 seconds at the moment, and looking to get the clearance then. So we saw 14 seconds for Prada. This is longer here for Sedgwick here, over 16, 18 seconds that he's down there, and he gets a fresh set of tyres as he comes off the jacks. 22.3 seconds out there as Tommy Vidal still can't find the magic formula that gets him the pass that he needs to go by. So this is really some tricky stuff in order to get this move done. But William Guthrie, it's arm's length right now. It's like seeing a running back just working his way along the sideline and saying to his nearest corner, no, you're not getting anywhere near, arm out, not touching me.
Watching on the timing screen,
Sedgwick's had a spin. He's done exactly the same as what Adam State did out the pits.
Those cold tires, they will get you, and they will get you hard. As hopefully we'll get a replay of that as Ben Gregory out of the pits right now. Let's take a look, see, and yep. Oh man, that was just I wouldn't say that was a snap oversteer, but that car was not happy. It's even unhappier now backing into the wall.
That's not a snap, it's delayed. Slijavicic then pits from the race lead. Leander Gabrielsen follows, and I think we're on end game here with 28 and a 3/4 minutes to go here at Miami. Slijepcevic then has the advantage on the box and will also have got into the pits first. So what will Gabrielsen do? James Boumet stays out longer and will go through. Aiden Carter's had a very good long second stint as well, so keep that in note as they look to set themselves up. I wouldn't be shocked to see Slijepcevic go first as he's gone 20 seconds. He's off the jacks, he's away. And Gabrielsen will have to soon follow in tow. And where they'll come out is interesting because they'll be directly behind Pedersen and Carter.
See if Mira can stretch it to 2 laps out there, Jake.
Yeah, we'll see if he can. Gabrielsen is a very lucky lad not to have turned himself around there, Jeremy.
Oh, very lucky lad indeed, because we're now at the point where if one mistake, and that's basically race over. So we'll see how this works out here. Slijepcevic holding off Gabrielsen once again. So pit strategy not too much of an issue as Slijepcevic and Gabrielsen essentially run about the same pit time down to the 100th of a second, where Gabrielsen was 100th of a second faster.
Yeah, so the delta was good. What wasn't good was the exit. The exit itself for Gabrielsen. So as he went on through, Simon Andre Livingston in the pits, but this is going to be interesting now for Pedersen, who's 6th, looking to get into the top 5 then, or 4th now, sorry, looking to get into 3rd as we are in that cycle and figuring out, right, what am I going to do? In comes Anders Mira to make his final stop of the race. And so this now sets up whether he can fight Slijepcevic or not. Slijepcevic with the 1 lap down, Tristan Engelstad just behind. Our focus is on Pedersen and Carter, and there's going to be no look of a move because he's not anywhere near close enough, driving it into 17 as we look at Aiden Young trying to get the vulnerable Leander Gabrielsen past.
That's the good news there. Boumet still out there as Mira's into the pits. 19-3 separates the two of them. Aiden Carter makes a jump. So does Pedersen. Let's see who the aggregate leader is. And right now, things stay the way they are, Jake. It's going to be a little bit of a touch there as Anders Mira could be your aggregate leader. Should things stay the way they are?
He is, but he's got to fight hard here with Aiden Carter, and this is not what he wants coming out of the pit. There is Slijepcevic in the background, so he's got a massive launch, and now Pedersen's going to chuck it 3 wide down the inside. Mira thinks better of it to get involved with this at this phase of the race, and suddenly his gap gets half as he's come out of the pits there. So through goes Carter and Pedersen. Pedersen gets the pass on the pick as he works through, but Aiden's not done. He's going to try and say, look, I can be just like one of you boys. I can go and have a fight with it here as he works on the outside. Can he jam it down and get this to work the long way here? Mira with the best seat in the house, but Pedersen covers it off.
Here's the thing, too. Carter's got to pit any lap now as he's had 20 laps out there on his tires. Pedersen and Boumet both need to pit as well from 1st and 2nd place. So that will be quite interesting as well as you see Mira, Slijepcevic, and Gabrielsen sitting back there, letting them all go out and play. Let the boys who need to come in and pit dance a little bit. As you see Carter trying to tuck behind the 242. We'll see if he tries a move there in the final turn. Thinks better of it, but Mira really closing in through that last corner, the penultimate corner.
Boumet stays out for another lap. Aiden Carter can't go any further, and so he will dive down into the pits, the Pro-Am leader. He will look at William Guthrie with this stop and say, look, I've built myself a lovely margin. I'd love to continue in that same vein moving forward, with Guthrie due for a stop as well in the final stages. So this is going to be a case for the likes then of Anders Mira, that in the final stage he's just got to keep Slijepcevic behind. Everything else I think is gravy at this point, and Pedersen driving very well in front of him. He knows he's got a pit, so I don't think he's going to risk anything out there at this point. He just knows the end game is strategy has given him the fuel margin. He's now got to convert.
Something that you and I discussed also is how the fate of luck has not befallen of Mira for the most part. Now he's got two drivers who are a lap or two away from having to come in and answer the final call of the pit, because let's be real here, nobody can make it. Nobody's made it past 20 laps right now on a stint, so especially with his warm-ups everything is. So, you know, here's the thing, you've got the Falcon teammates 1 and 2. It's a big gap between the two of them, but look at this, you've got Slijepcevic and Gabrielsen who've fallen back even further. Gabrielsen now in the clutches of Aiden Young, who also I believe he needs to pit. Yeah, Aiden Young needs to pit as well. So we've got a mixed bag of talent here who need to pit and who have not pitted. A lot of alternate strategies working out.
Yeah, and the longer that they go, the less they'll need to take. Don't expect tyres if they're going to pit in so late on in the race. Boumet out for another lap around the circuit, so he's looking to set this one up towards the end of this race, and maybe he is eyeing that 15-minute mark as the absolute limit of where he wants to be getting this sorted. So I think this is a game of the haves and the have-nots, and if you can save a little bit on fuel, I don't think James Boumet can do the stop in and out in 20 seconds. What I think he can do, though, in terms of what he's setting, I think he can really cut down the tree to Leander Gabrielsen. I think that's his goal, if he can somehow sneak a podium.
See what a podium looks like here, and yeah, the sneak of the podium would be absolutely fantastic, as both Boumet and Pulisic are sticking out for one more lap. There's your championship leader, and he's got to try his best to see if he can make the overcut work and maybe give himself a top, stay in the top 5. Remember, he wasn't too far back in the position. It was just the gap that he had as he looks to put Simon Andre Livingston one lap down around the stadium section, work their way through the jump and then down the back straightaway. Then we'll get to see if Boumet decides to play another round or if he's going to come in and take a little bit of a break. As Mira, what happened to Mira?
Oh, no, don't tell me something's gone wrong for Anders Mira here as he drops like a stone down the timing board. And to me, that looks like it is going to be your disconnect drop that is going to put the Damocles on what looked like a brilliant chance to win a race. And what does that guy have to do? What does he have to do? How many ladders has he walked under recently? How many black cats have crossed his path? You know, Anders Mira is a desperately unlucky individual.
Hopefully all his mirrors in the house have stayed in one piece. And now Gabrielsen's made his way around Aiden Young for the time being, as Mira keeps falling down the order. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be game over for the 20s. Gabrielsen also suffering from a little bit of connection issues himself, as now he's blinking a little bit off and on our timing screen. As Gabrielsen
connection flag.
That's it for him.
It's a connection flag for Leander Gabrielsen now, so that's even more trouble. He'll drop out of it. Suddenly, Axel Slijepcevic is in absolute dreamland, and I'll tell you who else is right now. The two up at the race lead, James Boumet, Nikolai Pulisic. They won't know too much about what's just happened, but they'll realise that there are two Norwegians that are not here anymore, and that for those two, they understand clear as crystal. They have been given a golden ticket to race each other for the title for the final 2 weeks.
Talk about a golden opportunity as Fast Tommy hits his marks, 22.4 seconds. He will roll out, I believe that's going to be possibly near Jacques Eva for position. And of course, that's going to be for the nowhere near the Pro-Am, as Gabrielsen has indeed fallen out of order. Lots of connection issues that we've had here, more so than normal, but either way, Gabrielsen now has made his way into the pits. Jacques Eva into the pits. Jaco van der Lift makes his way up to 11th spot, but man, Boomy does not know the gift that he has been given.
Gabrielsen will get the chance to get back out and away again after the connection flag has been thrown for him. He's down in 18th position now, and all that effort is gone. And I tell you what, to have that back-to-back within 30 seconds there, that has absolutely wrecked their team championship push.
Man, how the turntables when it comes to opportunities like this, as Slijepcevic trying to do what he can to stay up at the front. Of course, the next driver that he has to worry about who's pitted recently is Lucas Prada, but Prada is a whole almost 20 seconds behind Slijepcevic, so that's going to be an absolutely fantastic showing for the 45 as once Boume out with the lead.
So William Guthrie into pit lane then, and he will look to get his service done for the final time, and I don't expect him to take tyres. I only expect fuel. 18 minutes should be more than manageable to get this sorted, but this does look like a long-ish stop, and that's a fuel-only stop there. 14 seconds on the box. Janis Scholtane from the AM lead now makes his call down into the lane, and we still await these two Falcons, the 1 and the 242.
We'll see when they fly into the pits as Scholtane now hits his marks. That gives Fast Tommy a chance to get up to 9th place overall, with William Guthrie not too far away. You're on board with who will be your leader once the 1 of the 242 decide to come into the pit. It's Axel Slijepcevic. Over the jump that he comes, as you see closing in on Poulsen down the back straightaway. It's only a matter of time before he catches up with them, but man, what storylines that we have had just in the past 5-10 minutes.
I'll tell you what, every time we go with this World GT Championship, there is always something that you just didn't expect, as in comes the race leader, the reigning champion, James Boume, for his final stop of the day. Only needs a morsel of fuel to get himself back off and going again. I wouldn't be shocked to see Poulsen in now as well, looking to hit his marks in onto the lane. There comes the second of the AMG Mercedes. So Axel Slijepcevic now will re-inherit the race lead, but where by comparison are the others? Aiden Young comes into pit lane right now. So James Boume will leave pit lane, and he will leave pit lane in second as he gets back up to speed and going, and off the jacks with tyres. There is Nikolai Poulsen, and he's going to be looking at Lucas Prada here off of the pit. So keep an eye out on this. Cold tyres for Poulsen might be problematic here, and so too will the lap traffic off the lane here of Ben Bennywood. So Prada, if he wants a podium here, he's going to have to drive the absolute daylight out of that AMG Mercedes to chase down the Falcon Mercedes of Poulsen in front on fresh rubber.
Anders Mira coming on our GT driver chat saying iRacing crashed, so that explains why we had two fellow countrymen suddenly drop out of the race. But man, what do you got to do for your Anders Mira? Do you have to open up windows, burn incense, speak in tongues to get the whatever spirit you have out of there? I mean, it's just been bad luck after bad luck for Mira, and he was staring down a win, Jake, and now iRacing says, nope, not today.
Defensive block by Poulsen. Prada's in the wheelhouse now, and he is looking for a way to get this move done. His tyres are up to temperature. He was the first to come in and make that call. It's been a really tough day for Lucas Prada. If he comes out of this with a podium, he'll thank his lucky stars the way that this one has gone. They are still stuck behind the traffic that doesn't have the obligation to move like it would in Formula. They've got to work their way around Ben Bennyworth here, but Poulsen knows that Lucas Prada wants this pass, and for the moment the Czechian trying to find a way to say, I can get this move sorted. Pulls halfway out into line, looking to get this launch at turn 17, and he's not there. He just has to play patient and wait it. Bennyworth off the road in front, and that could open the pick here to turn 1, but Prada can't get the acceleration.
Yeah, catching up to Poulsen's one thing, passing him is a totally different story, but there's anyone who could do it, it's going to be Lucas Prada, although he's about a car length back, so not close enough to make any sort of lunge. This is the battle of the race so far, as Poulsen trying to see if he can close with it. These are second and third in the points, by the way, as you got 1, 3, and 2, sitting 2, 3, and 4 right now on the track. So may not be a big points day for Bume, but I'll tell you what, it's still damage control day for him.
Yeah, this is about who controls the damage better compared to Pulisic and Prada, because the only difference between them is 14 points in the championship. If Prada's third and Pulisic second, then that gap is bigger to James Bume than for Lucas Prada, and they know that the job's going to be a little bit harder if Prada gets the pass done on Nikolai Pulisic. I think he'd actually see this today as a win. This is more than just I'm fighting for second in the championship. To some respects, this fight with 13 minutes to go is, can I hold on for my teammate?
And that's the key right there. You know, I don't think there's enough time to catch James Bume or really Axel Slijepcevic, but this battle right here, it's going to prove probably pretty vital in the final couple of races, depending on how these two drivers really do. And Prada, let's just say this, you know, the fact that he's still fighting here with the one win on the season is absolutely fantastic, because you see the combined wins with Bume and Pulisic, and it's 8 wins altogether as Prada steps on the slow pedal, tries to stay close with Pulisic, but Pulisic gets back on the loud pedal, headed towards the start-finish line.
And if you want to add up what's 8 wins mean here in the World GT Championship, that is walking into today, or leaving today, sorry, exactly half of the race wins this season have been for the teal and the blue out there. Oh, big wiggle. That's a huge wiggle over the curb there from Nikolai Pulisic, and pressure does funny things to drivers out there. Now Lucas Prada pulls to the outside. Late move of covering there from Pulisic to take his line. That was a half chance.
Half chance, but a chance nonetheless. Prada sizing up his opponent here for the closing stages of this Enduro. They've been going tooth and nail all race long as they work their way through the back, the straight-ish, as we're going to call it now. But Prada still staying within striking distance. I don't think he's going to make a strike here, but he is close. So if he does, it's going to be a fortuitous lunge, to say the least, as nice little defense by Pulisic, as he's going to make Prada go around the hard way, but he's going to try and go to the inside. Little bit of attack through turn number 11, now into 12. Pulisic has the advantage.
How can you wiggle 4 or 5 times under braking like that? They are attacking like their lives both depend on this, that they have to make this move. That was so late trying to sell the dummy out there. They almost tripped over both their shoelaces here. And keep in mind that if they fight like this, 3 seconds down the road, Aiden Carter and Jack Sedgwick. So that's what they've got to deal with late on. Prada's got another chance here. Pulisic moves across then at the middle of the straight to try and defend this one. Prada's got to go a long way if he wants to get this sorted. And again, he's just trying to pick the exit up here. Get the drive necessary that sets itself into prowess. There's Aiden Carter and Jack Sedgwick. They're looking like this, and they'll be seeing these two with green-eyed envy going, ooh, podium gimme, yes please.
Jake, I have this strange feeling that this is only going to end in tears, with as rough as they are trying to get around each other. Pulisic is, you know, look, he's diving to the inside to try and fend off Prada, but Prada is taking the outside line and doing his best. Now they're leaning on each other, and that's helping Carter and Sedgwick get bigger and bigger in those rear view mirrors, and that's not something you want to do. So I have a feeling that Pulisic's probably dropping that other gear, saying, you know what, I'm going to get away from you so I can get away from these two.
Jack Sedgwick, 1 win to his name this season, and he knows how important it has been to get that, as he sits currently in 5th in the championship. Again, another one of these drivers that just gets something out of it, but not quite everything. He will move up to 4th by the time that everything is all said and done, but he knows that he wants to get by Aiden Carter. He wants to be the one with clean air gallivanting into the distance to chase down these two at 3 seconds down the road. They've calmed it down a little bit on this lap of Pulisic and Prada, the 2 Ps in a pod together. But for the moment, this is just the testament to Aiden Carter's driving. It's absolutely hit your marks. Where are you going to find a way around him? You've got to get all the fundamentals correct to pass him.
course, this is where you take everything you've learned in, some of the open races, the D class, the rookie class, send to the D class, the C class, and the lessons that you're taught here, they pay off in these kind of races where they're tough, they're gritty. You're racing against some of the best in the service as Prada closes in ever so slightly. Mapulison able to stave off that charge once again. A little bit too far away to make anything happen coming off that final turn as, man, I've got to say this is going to be a fantastic 8 minutes left to go if this is the battle that we're seeing for third place.
I wonder here, with how they've shown their defensive prowess between each other, whether Lucas Prada's looking at this thinking, I can't afford to chuck it down in, I've already had contact today. I wonder if Nikolai Pulisic is looking at this going, well, I know that I've just got to drive the absolute wheels off of it here. And Jack Sedgwick, understanding that the Aston Martin plays a certain way out there compared to the AMG Mercedes, and this is a case of the corners that you need to go and be quick at are the ones that lead onto these straights. And how close on the bottom of your screen there was Aiden Carter to the Tech Pro barriers. This is a great chance for Sedgwick here.
What Sedgwick can do as he closes in on Carter. This is an out-of-class battle. Both drivers taking the defensive line. Who pops out to the race line first? It's Sedgwick. And Carter's going to be plenty in front of Sedgwick, but Sedgwick closing in ever so slightly through turn number 12. Little wide as he goes through the horseshoe. And now over the jump, you see your battle for third overall, your battle for fifth overall, top and bottom of your screen, as both of these drivers really showing, all these drivers, I should say, really showing their talent pool as they come down back straightaway once again. Just a handful of laps left. Jaco Vanderlith comes into the pits for his final pit stop as well, as he can do no more.
Yeah, he knows that he was only going to be a couple laps shy. That will actually open up the battle down there for Seaman Andre Livingston. And in fact, it comes out just in front of James Boumet then in the final stages. So it promotes Livingston up to third in class, and he'll be very happy in that regard. But Prada there on that lap, 56.5 compared to a 56.3. Pulisic has done enough now to get that gap to 6/10 over the line. So initial pressure, God, look at the differences there through turn 2, Jeremy. I think that's where he's making the time up there. He is willing, is Nikolai Pulisic, to chuck the car over every curb known out there, especially here at 5, because that's not a curb in the traditional sense, that's a painted curb out there through 5 and 6.
That's definitely a big painted curb right there, but I've got to say this, that just speaks to the talent level of Pulisic as somebody who can take a car, dance it wherever, and it still picks up time. So Nikolai looking really good here these final couple of laps, and Jake, I have a feeling unless he puts a wheel wrong or catches lap traffic at the right time, third might be in Pulisic's hands. However, Prada, he's going to do what he can to throw his Mercedes into places where he hasn't thrown them yet. And you still have Sedgwick trying to get around Carter for the overall position. Now, Carter doesn't have much to lose should he lose that fifth spot, but still, he's racing as if he does. And this isn't helping his cause of staying in Pro-Am next year.
Well, for Aiden Carter, I think he's just focusing on getting the best result he can. He's had an overall win in this series this year, and I think that's been really telling on the reverse grid. So he'll look at Jack Sedgwick and go, yeah, I deserve to be up here. I'm racing against pros. I've got the pace against pros. I'm 15 seconds down the road from William Guthrie. I'm doing exactly what I need to and then some. And if you want to know why Lucas Prada was so desperate to get that move a couple of laps ago, watch how that gap has opened up now to 1 second. Pulisic took fresh tyres at that final stop, and with 5 minutes to go, now they're starting to pay. And Prada, who pitted about 20 minutes earlier, his tyres are looking second-hand.
Yeah, that track temperature keeps getting higher and higher throughout this session, as it's now up to 114 Celsius, 46 degrees. Actually, it has fallen a little bit, but still, those tires are taking a beating, as you see Andre Livingston trying to hold off, get around Jack's Eve, I should say. That is for in-class position as well. And what a race that some of these guys have had. By the way, 12 cars on the lead lap, so Axel Slijepcevic really taking no prisoners here near the end of this race.
He's not, and for Simon Andre Livingston, that is must-make to limit the damage to Janis Schulte out there, Carter and Sedgwick, and it's all the way to the left-hand side through turn 10. Jack Sedgwick's looking to try and find the tiniest slither down the inside. Aiden has to leave the room, and Jack takes even more than that, pushes his way through and says, you ain't gonna get that place defended the entire time. Must make from Sedgwick, because look who's in the background of shot. It's Aiden Young.
Yeah, the driver's cooldown room's going to be quite spicy, quite interesting here in about less than 3 minutes time, as Sedgwick makes it an all-pro top 5. Aiden Carter sits in 6th. Of course, Aiden Young sitting back there as well. But Carter's not done yet. He's going to try and see if he can draft on to Sedgwick. But Sedgwick doing the snake. Here comes Carter to the inside. Not going to make it happen through the turn, and decides better of it.
Very Hamilton-esque there, the way he pulled out to half a car width out wide, saying, look, I could go and make that move, but very much just pulled himself back into line, said, I'll take my natural racing line. I'm not losing anything by doing it. I'm just making the car even wider than you think I possibly can. So I think that's very well postured out there by Aiden Carter. But if he wants to get this back, he's going to have to be aggro on it. But we know that Jack Sedgwick, these corners here, 4, 5, 6, that is absolute dreamland for that Aston Martin. It can drive through here all day long and pick up a few tenths along the way, as if it's just a grocery shop gonna get you milk and veg.
Well, it just goes back to show how good the Evo package has been on this Aston Martin since it was introduced not too long ago, and it really has made it one of the more competitive manufacturers here in iRacing. But this is going to go down to the wire, I think, for that 5th place overall, though now I see the Carter really has fallen off, so I think he thinks his discretion is a better part of valor, and just going to let Sedgwick have it for now, although he could be lulling all of us into a false sense of hope. However, this battle for 2nd place in Pro-Am keeps raging on. William Guthrie, Fast Tommy Vettel, as Tommy Fast tries to see if he can make a look to the inside of Guthrie. And again, this is for who's going to stand on the podium. Vettel to the inside of turn number 12. They're side by side, and Guthrie's going to pinch him off, but Fast Tommy gets around William Guthrie.
He overcooked it there, did William. I think there he did too much, trying to keep that place, and ultimately he looks a little bit foolish there when Tommy Vidal just hits an apex, gets through the corner, makes it look very, very comfortable to move into 8th from a starting spot of 15th there. That was a lovely showcase of what driving is all about. Oh, trouble! Trouble! James Boumé in trouble. Now that is only, I think, it's a big hit into the wall that he's had actually going through turn 2. We take a look, he's just caught the curb funny, bang! It's just the nose that's gone in, but critically, I think he can bring that back around though, still in 2nd. That's what he's got. That what was at the time a 20-second margin for. It's now on this final lap going to be 10 seconds, and he is just going to be having a huge sigh of relief that no one was there to pick up the table scraps on a moment like that. The final lap now officially is put up onto position, and we turn to this guy up at the front of the field. He's got the top 11 directly in front, the battle between Eva and Livingston, which is going on directly in front of him, and he's had to be very patient, very cautious. It looked after the final round of stops that he was beaten compared to Anders Mira, but luck has a very cruel way of choosing its winners sometimes, and Axel Slijepcevic right now has favours fortune as he works himself over to turn 17. At long last, the stage hunter will go and get one. Axel Slijepcevic for Altitude Frame Esports comes to the line and wins at Miami.
What a fantastic run by Slijepcevic as he really gets up there and basically was handed that position. But take a look at Aiden Carter. Have a day, 42, as he sits 6th overall, your leader in class. And the Vettel-Guthrie battle still Dave's off the back straightaway, but Carter in the number 42 Fry Guys Motorsport, your points leader in Pro-Am, will continue that extension and win yet another race here at Miami. Checkered flag is out. The final Enduro of the year goes to Carter.
Yeah, he'll be really pleased with that. Perlison 3rd, Prada 4th. Long way for Janus Schultain. They're side by side behind him, though, for 2nd in class. As Schultain has a wiggle because Simon Andre Livingston, this is must make over Jacques Eva. If he doesn't get this, you can pretty much write with 4 races to go that it could be in the hands of Janus Schultain. Now needs to cross him up and over again. Long way around of turn 12. Surely not the long way around of turn 12. Inside for 13. Simon Andre Livingston's got to pick his pocket. Here there's contact at the junction under the turnpike. Livingston is absolutely resolute in terms of the way he gets that. Janus Schultain will take yet another category win here in Am as the Fry Guys Belgian gets number 6 on the year as he sets himself up. But I note here, heading their way towards turn 17, Simon Andre Livingston. Jeremy, that was a championship-saving move.
No, it really was, as they worked their way around. Simon Andre Livingston will get 2nd and 11th overall. Jacques Eva, the last car on the lead lap, will be on the bottom step of the podium. A lot of drivers will have so many questions to ask about Miami, but I'll tell you this, there's one who has the answer he wanted, and that is your overall winner.
Axel Slijepcevic, 20 seconds clear at the line and would be helped, of course, by the 12 seconds James Boumet lost on the final lap. But Boumet knows he extends his championship lead with his teammate Nikolai Perlison 3rd and his main rival Lucas Prada in 4th. So now he's got 2 to think about with Belle Isle on the horizon. Jack Sedgwick finishes 5th ahead of your Pro-Am winner Aiden Carter, who is romping his way towards the title ahead of Aiden Young, Tommy Vidal and William Guthrie. Janus Schultain, his 6th win. He's got a half dozen now in the back pocket, but critically, Simon Andre Livingston was able to just about get it over the line at what will be a minute 58 over the line. Jacques Eva at 2:01 as he crossed the line, last car on the lead lap. Jacco Vonderlit will be 13th and Tristan Engelstad 14th, a lap down with Bennyworth, Gabrielson and John Lloyd. What could have been for Leander Gabrielson? What could have been for Anders Mira without a PC crash? They're basically saying, no, you're not going to fight for this championship. Benjamin Gregory and Arthur Thurtle also out of the race, and it was a litany of retirements. Adam State off the pits, Alex Rogers, same at turn 4, and then Colin Sansom, Ivan Turnerson, Adam Watson, and Fraser Smith with a jump start then that has caused a whole heap of drama out there. We are going to get this chance to talk to some of our drivers. Axel Slijepcevic here with us right now. Axel, patience was the key of the game for the first, I would say, 2/3 of that race. You came out of the box, you looked at that final stint. Anders Mira was there 2 seconds in front of you, and your prayers got answered, not maybe in the way you wanted to, but it is for you a first win of the season.
Hey, yeah, it was good. It was a good race. It's an interesting track because most of the season, like, the Mercedes was the best car, and then sort of an odd track throws the balance of performance all over the place, and you get different cars at the front. It was interesting with the last stint because Anders didn't take tyres, so I think I would have been quite a lot quicker than him at the end of the race, but he probably would have defended quite hard. But yeah, shame we didn't get to battle in the end.
Talk us through your season, because you come into today 17th in the championship. Now, I think you, I, and the world will know that's not quite how you wanted everything to be, but how do you look at tonight now in terms of a win like that? Does it set your end of season goals properly? And for you, is that now effectively checklist done, pressure off?
Well, early on in the season, unfortunately, life got in the way a bit, so I missed quite a few rounds. But yeah, just doing the races for fun, really, and enjoying it. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. Now, let's talk about 7 days' time, because we go from one street circuit to another, and one that I'd argue is even tougher than this one, Detroit Belle Isle. How's that lining up for you and the altitude frame drivers?
Yeah, I haven't driven that track in ages, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I also don't know how good the Porsche is there, because it's quite bumpy, but we'll see.
We will indeed. Axel Slijepcevic then comes to the line today and takes a resounding victory here over the rest of the category. Your winner in Pro-Am is Aiden Carter. He stood by with Jeremy Scott.
Aiden, another dominating win for you there at the end. Congratulations as you take home the final Enduro of the season for Pro-Am.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting race. The track conditions made that one extremely difficult, but yeah, glad to get another win under the belt.
I want to talk about the track conditions. We saw the track temp go as high as 50 degrees Celsius. What did that do to your tires, and how did that change your strategy?
It was, in terms of strategy, it was quite difficult. I didn't change tyres for the final stop, which probably in hindsight wasn't the smartest move, because the track temperature was at its highest at the end. And yeah, it was just, the Merc's not particularly good in the hot conditions anyway. And yeah, a lot of long corners. It was really, really bad on the front tyres here. I think I saw it go as high as like 52 degrees at one point towards the end. So it got really, really warm towards the end of the race, and it just killed the front tyres pretty much. I had no speed at the end of the race, especially when Cedric was catching me, that I had no front tyres to fight him.
At least you ended the race when you did. Any longer, I think we would have had a battle for the lead for the Pro-Am category. But either way, what are your thoughts on Miami? We never really did get a chance to talk about it last time out, because you kind of weren't ready to kind of give your verdict on that circuit.
Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about Miami, if I'm completely honest. I think in real life I don't like it, but on the game I seem to enjoy it a bit more. I think it's not particularly suited for the GT3 style of car. Obviously, a lot of the long corners that we have in the first part of the lap just don't suit a car that's this front heavy and has traction control and ABS. So in other cars, this track is better, but I don't dislike this track as much as I thought I would.
Two more quote-unquote race weekends. Next week we're at Belle Isle, and then we round out the season at Watkins Glen. What do you have to do to prepare to just keep that massive lead you have in Pro-Am right now?
I think it's just to make sure that I get through the races cleanly now. I've built up enough of a lead that I don't have to win the final two rounds, really. It would be nice if I can, and I will still fight to try and win those races, but I don't have to take any major risks in the next two rounds, so I'm not going to take any major risks.
There you go. Great season for you so far. Aiden Carter, your winner in Pro-Am. Congrats, and we'll see you in a couple days.
Yeah, see you soon. Thank you very much.
A wonderful drive there from Aiden Carter. Your winner in the AM category for the 6th time this season is Janis Scholtain, who's here with us. So 2 victories in categories for the Fry Guys Motorsports team. Janis, I think that will be a job very well done. But for you, it looked like, especially in the early stages, that wasn't going to be on the cards with the way that Tristan Engelstad drove. He found himself in trouble. You picked up the table scraps, and ultimately, survival was the key of the race, it seemed, for you.
Yes, it's been my tactic throughout all of the races, just trying to stay alive. And I'm glad it worked out, because Engelstad was just on a league of his own. There was the qualifying pace was like, okay, I thought I was closer than I thought I would have been, but yeah, when the race started, there was like no way of me catching him, so I already settled for P2. And then I heard from Aiden Young, and him had a crash, so that really, that helped me quite a lot, because otherwise there was a bit no way I went up to P1 in the EMS.
And for you, of course, you've been dealing with your studies all season, running up. We're running into May and June. It's sort of the time where, you might get a chance to see them finish, or you're at the very crazy point of it where it all sort of forms together, to now have yourself with the margin that you've got over Seaman Andre Livingston, that you've got over 70 points in the back pocket with 4 rounds to go. Does that fill you with confidence, knowing that you can put this together on the table, and you know that you don't have to be at 100% and having to go out there and trying to win category to go and get this championship.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. Like I have not driven Detroit yet, but I know at Watkins I'm quite alright. So it's I'm not wanting to celebrate too early, but I have a good feeling going into the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, it's I'm confident in that way.
And it's really good to see that you've got that confidence. And I believe this Miami circuit is one you have to drive it with confidence. The way you've got to chuck yourself over some of the curbs around here is maybe a lot different to what you see at other circuits. So do you find this style of, having to be aggressive with the car, having to basically demand, the way over the circuit and tell the circuit what you want the car to do? Is that a style that you're very happy with, or do you prefer something that's maybe a little bit more measured?
Yeah, no, this is really not my style. Especially in the Merc, you could not really touch the cars. Like if I looked at the Beamers, like seeing them, they were just on a league of their own. And I think we also saw that at the pace of the BMW drivers. They just ate those curbs, while in the Merc, you just could not touch them because the landing just ruins the pace. And I don't know who was playing with the temperature during this race, but man, it was so hot. There was no grip. So this is definitely not my most enjoyable race. I prefer when it's a bit colder, and I generally feel like you want to underdrive the cars a bit. So I'm not the best in throwing the car around, especially not when it's this hot.
No, make it very much like a Flanders Cobble Classic, basically, I guess is the way you kind of want it. Janis Scholtain there joining us and getting the win in category. Finally, though, the 427 in the Corvette had a busy day at the office. Jeremy Scott has caught up with Aiden Young.
And, of course, a very busy day, still staying in the top 5. 7th place, so the finishing order for you, Aiden. It seems like it was a scrappy hour and 45 minutes for you.
Yeah, not my best race. I had no pace at all today. I mean, qualifying was my strong point, but once we got to the race, I mean, I only had pace for probably at least the first 30 minutes. After that, I don't know what happened, but it's just all my pace, it flew away, went out the window.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with track temps. I can finally say this in what we jokingly call freedom units in the 110s, 120s. So that probably did not help your cause at all either today.
I actually felt I was better in the hotter track temps. I kind of I kind of felt like it was going to stay hot most of the race and be close to 50 Celsius. But there was a couple times where any time it got down close to low 40s and high 30 track temp, I was super slow because I was running max wing, and I kind of knew it. But even with that, usually I'm able to keep up just by doing some crazy corners. But for whatever reason, through the corners, I had no turn in, and I had a lot of rear end, so it was just fighting understeer the entire race, and it was a bit frustrating because I know I can be up there, but it's just when you fight the car, it's pretty hard to get the result that you need to get.
Well, gotta say, for being the only Corvette out there in the field, you've done quite well for yourself so far this season. 2 rounds left in the season with Belle Isle and Watkins Glen coming up, which I think Watkins Glen's going to be a better track for you in the Corvette. But what are you looking forward to most out of these next 2 weekends?
Belle Isle. I love street courses, especially Detroit.
Oh. All right. I've got to say that. That's a good one.
Detroit's always been one of my favorite tracks, I'd say, when it comes to street circuits. That and Long Beach, they're 2 good ones. Unfortunately, we don't have Monaco. I would love Monaco on iRacing, but I don't think they can do that. So kind of SOL with that. But yeah, Detroit, I love racing around that place. No matter the car, it's just so much fun.
Oh, the elevations. I never realized how much elevation there really was there at Monaco till I sat there in the grandstands right by right by where the boats are. It's oh, that is a climb up from 1 to 2. Either way, congratulations. A great showing for you in the top 10.
Yeah, not too bad.
Well, there you have it with Aiden Young, and there we are, a live look at the Scott Fountain here at Detroit Belle Isle, as we will sit in 7 days' time, ready for a circuit that I argue should never have been taken away from the IndyCar calendar over into the main part of Detroit. This is a wonderful circuit that brings the power, brings the prowess, and it really demands you to be very good. I will note as well, Aiden Young's in a Corvette, and the last time we saw a Corvette over there, I believe the owner of General Motors crashed it at turn 2, so be very cautious at Detroit Belle Isle as you look to push it forward. But as far as the World GT Championship goes, there are sometimes moments that define seasons, and there were chances aplenty for many to go and take their first wins of the season. Leander Gabrielsen and Anders Mira will kick themselves. A golden goose has gone away, but they will know that Axel Slijepcevic takes the spoils, stage hunts and gets what he wants, but it's critical. A tiny points boost for James Boumet, a big margin now for Aiden Carter, and it's starting to look like 2 Fry Guys cars on top with the likes of Janis Schulte. We'll see you in 7 for what will be the penultimate meeting of the season. Moving day will set itself off in play when we head to the Motor City.